So you're in MGTOW and you're working on yourselves, you're working on the seven healths. Today I'm going to talk about one of those seven healths, something I typically don't talk about, um, but I received an email concerning it to some extent from one of the viewers, and it's about sexual health. Sexual health, sexual performance, those things are very important in relationships. Um, I used to put that at the top at one time, but for me, it's not as important because I'm confident and comfortable in the fact that I'm able to perform and adapt because each woman is different. You know, what will work on one woman won't work on another. And if you're in a dating market and you're spinning the plate or you're revolving doors, then you will need to be versatile in pleasuring each woman based on their likes and dislikes. And don't be ashamed to ask, hey, what you like, what you don't like, because they will gain pleasure from you doing the things that they like. So don't consider that being shameful. You're actually putting yourself first by asking, hey, what you like. In some cases, you can experiment during the foreplay, because the longer you foreplay, the more mentally and emotionally that woman is connecting with you. And from my experience, um, women cannot perform, don't really last sexually for more than like 10 minutes at the most. As far as time goes, more times than not, they're done in 5 minutes. They're ready to sleep, they're done, especially if they come multiple times. I've had women say they don't really come, and that's a straight lie. uh, if you approach sexual activity like you approach anything else, to for your own personal growth, it does have its own rewards. It is rewarding. So to yourself, it gives you an ego trip, a big head, whatever you want to call it, and that's not necessarily a bad thing in the bedroom. So don't be afraid to, you know, uh, to really go in on the foreplay thing. I have just never really encountered any of the women that I've been involved with over the years, to last more than maybe 5-10 minutes max. They're usually done within five most of the times. And again, every once in a while, I mean, if you're having sex with the same woman, every once in a while that woman might be able to go 45 minutes, but it's very rare in situations like that. Or more so as an ego trip for them to say that they could go. It's really, they're usually done, but they want to keep going because you can keep going, and they're trying to match you um, in situations like that. So keep that in mind. Um, if you have any questions, just ask it in the comment section down below. Like and subscribe, share the video if you think it will benefit someone. Moving on, you're putting yourself first, like I mentioned in another video, and in this situation, sexual performance, you are basically putting yourself first, because you're making that excellent connection with the woman mentally and emotionally, and you're boosting your sexual health, as far as performance and as far as connecting with her. Those of you who prefer, who are like insecure about such a thing, again, it's an important part of relationships, and it could be a contributing factor to some failed relationships, because you're not investing seriously enough time in that physical connection through sexual activity that touches a woman's emotional and mental health in a way that she has never really experienced such a thing before. You gotta be it's one of those things I say, you gotta be serious about your shit when it comes to sexual activity. You gotta be serious about it. If you're not putting yourself first and you're not respecting yourself, um, that's one of the areas that you're gonna screw up in. By performing that, you're respecting yourself as a man, and you're putting yourself first, because by giving her pleasure, and you gain pleasure from giving her pleasure, and if you can knock her ass out that way, that's the greatest pleasure in the world, at least for me. It might be for you if you experience such a thing. Another thing you need to consider with sexual activity is that it will generate a sense of respect from that woman, that because you're laying pipe properly. She's more likely to listen to some of the things that you have to say. I made women promise to do things to me during sexual activity, just for the hell of it. You could take it even as far as just telling a woman without having sexual activity with her, after she's experienced sex with you multiple times, you got to tell her, just whisper in her ear and say come, and she would come. I've experienced that too, and I can say that, I can say that because I've experienced that a couple of times. So with a few different women, where I was able to just tell them come, and they would come, and I would get an ego trip off that. And again, but you gotta get your game tight. If for some reason you can't last long, you just made that way. Eat twat until your tongue get heavy. Till the next day you can't really talk, chew, or eat food. I've done that before, and again, it works. It's part of foreplay. I mean, you could get a woman so aroused just till your tongue fall off. You could just touch her and she would come, at that point. So don't bullshit about your foreplay game. Of course, keep yourself clean, keep yourself fresh, and if the opportunity arises, be serious about your shit and put that work in. It may not seem important, especially if you're a good-looking guy and stuff like that. Those things may not seem important to you because you're going off just your looks. Believe me, your looks alone don't mean crap. You got to be able to perform sexually to keep a woman around, in the sense that she's more interested in you, where you can possibly look at a long-term relationship or even marriage. Again, if you're in MGTOW, you've probably fed up and tired of a lot of the bullshit that some of these women are playing on you, but you also got to look at yourself and your performance. One of those performances is sexual health. You got to really look at yourself and see, are you really putting in, keeping your masculinity up there, you in control, where she can't really sway you and stuff like that emotionally, where you get emotional. You're not hypersensitive. Those are things that can cause a woman not to be attracted to you. If you're a super nice guy, you're always aiming to please, throwing the rose petals and all that bullshit, is romantic, I guess, to some extent. But when it comes down to performance, you suck. You could throw all the rose petals and light all the fragrant candles in the world. It doesn't mean crap. It's like a precursor of foreplay to precursor to foreplay. And then when you come to foreplay, you kind of breeze through it and jump straight into the vagina. And then you climax before she even got started. That's a load of bullshit. You need to step it up significantly, especially if you're a young man. You really got to pay attention to that. Really focus your mind. I know it's going to be difficult if you're young, because you got a lot of raging hormones when you're young. You're vibrant, you're energized, and you're just going strong. That's when you really need to calm yourself down and get your stroke game on. You can't be bullshitting with it. Especially in relationship. And if you're building a career and all that stuff, and you're doing all that stuff too, and you still have time to really focus on that, great. If you don't have time to focus on it, you're not missing out if you wait till till you've established yourself and you start really dating some younger women, now that you're starting your financial stride, because there's always going to be women, all right? You're not going to be missing out in your 20s by building yourself up and preparing yourself mentally and emotionally to engage in sexual activity. I'm not saying don't engage in sexual activity while you're young, because you should, if it's available to you, so you can practice. But I think for me, I enjoyed sex more in my 30s, and because I enjoyed sex more in my 30s, because I was older, and even now, I think it's more pleasurable now from my 30s than when it was in my 20s. Again, I didn't really, my body count is not high by today's standards. Usually I had sexual relationship with one woman for months, maybe years at times. I wasn't like rotating women, so that's not my thing. And like I say, I stayed long intervals in between relationships where I just prefer the stressless relationship lifestyle of celibacy. And again, in my humble opinion, celibacy is far superior as far as being stress free, and when it comes to dealing with women, it blows a woman's mind where you're not really interested in having sex with them at times, even though they're cute and whatnot. It just so happen, if you do, it's not, you can say you got lucky and all that, because I've said that a couple of times, but you do it on your own terms, not necessarily on their terms, and that's because you put yourself first and respect yourself. And again, one of the toughest things about being celibate and being in relationships, the moment you have sexual intercourse with somebody, you want more and more of it, and going back to celibacy can be tough. You put yourself in a position where you become enslaved to sex, and thus create that cycle of jumping into relationships that may lead to toxicity, and eventually lead you back to MGTOW, because you're basically repeating a cycle. So strengthen yourself in all 7 healths first, or while you're strengthening yourself in the 7 healths and you're pursuing relationships, while in MGTOW, you will still have the mindset of MGTOW even when you go into relationships. If you go into a sexual relationship being selfish rather than selfless, it doesn't mean you're a simp. If you go in selfish, you will get yours, and the woman might go away disgruntled. It might be revenge on your part. That's an unhealthy approach to take, especially in MGTOW, because MGTOW is about growth and self-development. So when you engage in sexual activity, you take the MGTOW philosophy with you, and this is one of those MGTOW philosophies where you put yourself first, in pleasing this woman, and really getting that connection mentally and emotionally with her, and blowing her back out till she falls asleep. So she's tired and wants to sleep. That's what you want, and you would find that you take much greater pleasure in not only climaxing but knocking her out. That's the greatest feeling in the world. If you've never experienced it, try it if the opportunity comes. But you gotta work your tongue game, you gotta work your fingers, you gotta work that touch. If your hands are rough, use some grease, get some massage oil, keep it handy, because I have rough hands. I do construction stuff sometimes, even though I raise children professionally. So again, like the video, subscribe, share the video if you think it has any value. Again, if you have questions, you can shoot me an email, or you could put it in the comment section down below. In this particular case, I got an email. I don't know how, because I didn't really post my email, but I got email. There must be a way for you all to reach me by email. I'll go ahead and start putting it in the link or comment section so you can have access to that email. Y'all have a good day.